Up Sun Raes? Welcome back to my channel. It's Ray. If you're new here, welcome. Today I am going to give you my top 5 tips for a bomb wash and go. Now, I probably could have come up with 10, but I didn't want the video to be real long, so I'm going to give you my top 5. Now, these are 5 tips that I think work to make a great wash and go. Somebody else may have their top 5 tips. Everybody is different. Everybody has things that work for them. Some of the things I tell you is going to be things that you've heard. Some of the things may not be things that you've heard. I don't know. What I know is the top 5 things that I'm going to tell you. So these are my top 5 tips. First tip to make sure that you get or give you a better chance of having a really nice wash and go is to make sure that your hair is thoroughly cleansed. That means clarify your hair if you have to, use a sulfate shampoo if you have to, whatever. Make sure your hair is thoroughly cleansed so there is no buildup on your hair. So when you go to add your products, you have a better chance of not getting flaking and for what you use to actually work. So make sure your hair is thoroughly cleansed. A lot of times we as naturals make a mistake because we're co-washing, we're shampooing with sulfate-free shampoo and things, and that's fine. But if you've used a lot of butters on your hair the week before, a lot of oils, a lot of heavy gels and things of that sort, you know, co-washes do have cleansing agents in them, or I should say cleansing conditioners do have cleansing agents in them, but sometimes it's harder for those gentler cleansers to remove all the buildup that we have on our hair, especially if we pack it on day after day after day, if you're feeling like I gotta re-moisturize my hair every day and things of that sort. So what I'm saying is make sure your hair is cleansed and your scalp is cleansed. Does that mean you use a clarifying shampoo every day, or if you wash your hair twice a week or every other week? I would not suggest that. That's me. I wouldn't suggest doing that every week, but I definitely do suggest making sure your hair is cleansed, whatever that means to you. Does that mean using a clarifying shampoo one week and then using a moisturizing shampoo the next, or a clay the next, or whatever? But anyway, make sure your hair is cleansed so there's no buildup on your hair. Okay, when your hair is cleansed and when there's no buildup, when you wet your hair and your hair is thoroughly saturated, you are going to be able to tell your curls. That water is going to form whatever your hair pattern is. So if when that water is in your hair you see coils, then you know that that's what your hair can do. If your hair is thoroughly saturated and you see more frizz or zigzag, then that's what your hair can do. Okay, so I don't want you to think that these tips are going to make you have coils if your hair does not coil. Okay, so let's get that, let me get that out of the air. That was a disclaimer. Okay, so number 1 tip, make sure your hair is thoroughly cleansed. Okay, the second tip is make sure that your hair is thoroughly moisturized, which means now that your hair is cleansed, it is a clean slate for moisture to get in. So you want to make sure that you deep condition your hair, and I would suggest not using a deep conditioner that has silicones in it. That's just my suggestion. If that's all you have, then by means use what you have, but I'm just saying that's my suggestion, because silicones in a deep conditioner, you know, can lock that in. That's what silicones are for, and they can build up. But then when you're trying to put other things on it later, you don't want to have the silicone blocking other moisture getting in. Okay, so that's just me. I would just suggest not using a deep conditioner with silicones, but hey, if that's what you have, then that's what you use. So deep condition your hair, and after you've deep conditioned your hair and rinsed that out, go in with your leave-in. I would suggest doing that inside the shower. Okay, apply your leave-in inside the shower. This all goes into step 2, how to get your hair thoroughly moisturized. Get that deep conditioner in, and then go in with a nice leave-in inside the shower when your cuticles are still open, and that leave-in can penetrate into those strands and get into that hair. Okay, once you've done this, you should start seeing your hair look different. If you've always been doing this, you may not see a difference, but if you have not been doing this and now that you're doing it, you should see your hair looking different. You should see and feel that your hair feels a little bit different. It feels a little bit more moisturized. You can see that the deep conditioner and the shampoo has penetrated, or is penetrating your strands, because there was no buildup on it before you added those things, because you had cleansed your hair, right? So once you do that and you add that leave-in into your hair in the shower, you should feel a difference, and you should see a difference in your strands. And once your hair is thoroughly moisturized, now this is when you are going to start styling. So you can just use that leave-in and then go straight in with your gel. Or if you want to add a moisturizer on top of that leave-in, or an oil on top of that leave-in, that's up to you. You know what your hair likes and what it can do. I usually will just do a leave-in and then go in with the gel, because I know that my hair can usually stay moisturized with just a leave-in, because I'm low porosity, and once I get that moisture from that leave-in in there, my cuticles close. It usually holds in that moisture. But you need to know your hair. So if your hair is high porosity and you need a little bit more than a leave-in, then go in with a moisturizing cream, a style cream, a curl cream or something like that, or go in with an oil after that leave-in to give it a little bit extra stain power. Okay, so after you got that moisture in, then step 3 is to make sure that you work on soaking wet hair. That means have a water bottle next to you if you're doing styling outside the shower, or go ahead and just style your hair inside the shower while you're still in the shower. And get your gel, whatever gel that is you're going to use, and you make sure that your leave-in is in, your moisturizer is in, and if you need to dip your hair a little bit under the water, make sure it's soaking wet, and then apply that gel. That's what you do. But you want to be working on soaking wet hair. So if you're doing it outside the shower, like sitting in your beauty room, in your bathroom or whatever, get you a water bottle, fill it up with water, and you make sure whatever section you're working on, you are saturating that hair with the water. Again, whatever curl pattern you see when your hair is soaking wet is the curl pattern that gel is going to lock in. Okay, so you want to make sure that your hair is soaking wet. 4th, you want to make sure that you're using small sections. And if you want to, you can change 3 and 4 around. You can say small sections first and then make sure your hair is soaking wet, but you get the gist. Okay, these are just the top 5. So you make sure you're working in small sections. Smaller than this if you have to. Cut this in half if you have to. And you work in a small section. You see that? You get you a small section. You spray that section down and you make sure it is thoroughly wet. After you've gotten it thoroughly wet, however it's hanging and however those curls look, that's what it's going to look like after you apply the gel. So then you get your gel, and you apply your gel in small sections all the way through. Make sure every strand is coated, and you do that all over your hair. And it may seem like it's taking you a while the very first or few times that you do it, but as you continue to do wash and goes, you'll get quicker at it, and then it will seem like it's taking no time whatsoever. But your hair needs to be soaking wet, and you need to work in small sections. Okay. And you lock in the curl pattern that you see. So if your hair is soaking wet and your hair is still frizzy, or you still have a zigzag, or you still, you don't have those long ringlets or long coils, that's okay. That's your curl pattern, and you use that gel to define what you have. And if you have more of a frizzier type wash and go with like little curls on the ends, that's great. That's unique to you, and that's going to be beautiful on you. So don't think because I'm telling you these tips, all of a sudden if your hair is not like mine, your hair is going to turn out like mine. It's not. Your hair is going to be yours. And if you guys notice, and you've been with me long enough, you know that this part of my hair is frizzy, and then this part under here is more coily and more defined, and I embrace it. So I will have frizz up here, and it's just gonna be frizzy, and I just will have coils down here, and that's what it's gonna be. But my hair is not the same all over. It just is not. Would it be nice if this was like this down here? Yes, but it's not. So I just want to let you know that. Don't think these 5 tips, I'm giving them to you, and all of a sudden your hair is going to look like, oh, my hair is going to look like NaturalRaeRae's. Your hair is going to look like yours, and that's okay. All right, tip 5 is to make sure your hair dries thoroughly. So after you've applied that gel, don't go in and keep touching on it. Put your gel in your hair and leave your hair alone. The more you touch it, the more frizz you're going to cause. So put the gel in your hair all over in small sections on soaking wet hair. And then you have the option to air dry. If your hair is short, thin, dries long, you're in a hot climate, it'll dry real quick outside in the sun or whatever. You have the option to air dry, or you can sit under a hooded dryer. Now, because I'm in Indy and the weather is, cold one day and hot the next, I sit under the hooded dryer. But when I had a TWA, teeny weeny afro, and I first went natural, I air dried. I solely air dried. Didn't hardly ever sit under the hooded dryer. But now my hair is too thick and longer. It wouldn't air dry even on a really hot day. It wouldn't get dry down in the roots. So I prefer to just sit under a hooded dryer. But make sure your hair is thoroughly dry without you touching on it a lot and trying to manipulate it a lot. Once it's dry, you're ready to go. You can fluff it, you can stretch it if you want to, you can band it, you can do whatever you want to do, and those curls are going to pretty much be locked in. Okay? So, if you want as much definition as possible, don't touch it until it's dry. Don't do a whole lot of manipulating to it until it's thoroughly dry. If you have to go in with a diffuser to get your roots, like I do every once in a while right here, do that before you go and start stretching it. Because if you don't, you'll still be able to stretch it, but because it's still wet in there, when you stretch it and then you put that heat on it, it's going to dry straight. That in there is going to dry straight and you have curls on the end, which is okay. But if it was totally dry and you stretched it, then it's going to stretch with still a little bit of wave and definition. So it's going to blend just a little bit more than it just being totally straight, or it's going to frizz in there if you don't get it all the way dry and you're stretching it when it's wet. It's going to frizz in there. I know, I've tried. You can disagree with me if you want to, but then try it, because I have tried to go to not diffuse this, go in there and stretch it, or a little bit, and when I'm stretching it, I'm not keeping it on there long enough to get it all the way dry. So then when I let it go, it ends up frizzing up and still shrinking up a little bit. So then the next day it's back, shrunken up. So just wait till it's thoroughly dry, then do all the manipulating. But anyway, so that is pretty much it for my 5 tips. So let's go over it again. Make sure your hair is clean, so start on a clean slate. Make sure you thoroughly moisturize and hydrate that clean slate. Make sure that you work on soaking wet hair, so make sure your hair stays soaking wet. Make sure you work in small sections, and make sure that your hair dries thoroughly before you go in to stretch it or to manipulate it. Once you do those things, I think that you will have a better outcome for a wash and go. And also, guys, realize that it may take a couple times for you to do it for your hair to get used to coiling and being in a wash and go. So if you have always been a twist out person, or you've always, flat ironed your hair or did braid outs, your hair is used to being in a more stretched out form, right? It's used to being stretched out. So now that you go and you try to do a wash and go, it may not boing, it may not coil up or curl up or wave up or whatever your texture is, kink up the way that it normally would if you were consistently doing wash and goes. Do you understand what I'm saying? So give your hair a couple times. So if you're coming out of a twist out and you try to do a wash and go, oh, it still doesn't look right, my hair is still barely curling, it doesn't, blah, 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 blah. Do it again. Don't give up. Do it again. Do it again. Give your hair a chance to get used to its curl pattern that has been stretched out and manipulated for the last several months that you've been wearing braid outs, twist outs, you know, protective styles or whatever that is, okay? And I say that because I know when I did wash and goes all the time and I tried to do a twist out, my twist outs didn't quite look right until I started doing twist outs more and more and more. Then I started getting all of y'all saying, man, your twist out looks so great. Your twist out look bomb. Your twist out, because I was doing them back to back to back. And I trained my hair to start, you know, being used to doing twist outs. And then when I went back to doing wash and goes, my wash and goes didn't quite look like they used to look. But then now that I'm doing wash and goes again, now I'm getting my, you know, my curls are back. They're springing back a little bit better. So your hair gets used to doing a certain thing and it just got to get used to doing something different, right? So it's no different than anything else. Whatever that pattern is, that's what it gets used to. So yeah, so don't give up. But yeah, those are my 5 tips. Hopefully these things are helpful to you. If they are, let me know that in the comment section below. If you got some tips that will help somebody that are different than my tips, put those in the comment section below as well. Guys, don't say, well, Rae said this and you saying this. Everybody has different tips that work for them. These are tips that I'm giving you that are tried and true, that have worked for me, that I feel like pretty much can work for anybody. But if there's something else that someone else does that works for them and their hair may be more similar to yours than mine is or whatever, then one of their tips may work for you. So you just got to try different things until you find out what works for you. So yeah, so there you go. Hopefully, again, this was helpful. If you like this type of video and want to see more videos like this, let me know that in the comment section below. Make sure that you thumbs up this video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you'll be notified the next time I upload a video. And until next time, thanks for watching, guys. Bye.